do you think about Russell Westbrook in a skirt?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I think if we look at Westbrook in a skirt, we also have to remember that Westbrook is from L.A., like straight
hood.
gang culture, sea walking, you know. So for him to get to that space, that's a big leap. And I think intellectually, what he's aware of socially, right? So I think we are talking about a reimagining of masculinity, which is not separate from, you know, what is gender.
The Touré show. Okay, though. The Touré show. Okay, though.
That might be the best question I've ever been asked.
You're a phenomenal person. I mean, you legendary.
I am a fan of you, my brother.
Mitchell Jackson, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, has written an amazing book called Fly, which breaks down basketball fashion throughout the decades. I love this book. He's a great writer. Let's talk about basketball and fashion with Mitchell Jackson on Touré Show. Okay, so I love this book, Fly. Very interesting, broad look at the world of basketball fashion through the years. Mm-hmm. First off, who are a couple of the guys whose day-to-day fashion, you're like, he's the man. He's crushing it. Yeah. And who's a couple people who you're like, dog, you need help, dog. It's not that hard. There are stylists out here who could save you from yourself.
Man, I'm going to start with the positive. I think a guy whose day-to-day style I actually like, and this is going to sound almost maybe even rehearsed, I actually like LeBron's style.
You give LeBron a lot. He gets the first two big, beautiful pictures, and he does look amazing in his current era. He's not too wild.
Right. That's why I'm picking him, because I think he has a fashion that is aspirational, right? Mm-hmm. So even the jewelry, he has the right brands. So if you are, like, it's like hip-hop almost, right? Like when Diddy and all them and Jay-Z was starting to dress up, like that was aspirational. So I feel like Bron is that.
My one thing about Bron, when I see him, I say, oh, he listens to his stylist.
Yes. Okay.
Rather than thinking, damn, he knows how to put it together.
Yes. So he's fashionable. And I think there's a difference between being fashionable and being stylish. I think a fashionable person has the information and they have the resources to put the looks together. But I think a stylish person is going to take that fashion and is going to make it their own in some way. So I think Bron is very fashionable. But most people are fashionable, right? Like if you go into a room with 300 people, there might be 2 stylish people in the room, but there might be several fashionable people. So I think for that, he's someone that people can aspire to be, because to be stylish, you got to have something else in. It's like how many people are really artists?
Mm-hmm. So stylish is a higher innate ability to take almost nothing and make it look fly. As opposed to fashionable, which can be bought and figured out.
Yes. Or a stylist can get that to you, right? This is how you do it.
Who else is on your, let's say, your top 5 who's killing the game?
I think Jordan Clarkson is fashionable. Yeah, he has a bohemian look. It's really his. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
The Oklahoma City Thunder star.
Voted most fashionable 2 years in a row, right? Most fashionable man in the world, not just in basketball.
Really?
Yeah, he got GQ's most fashionable 2 years running.
Interesting.
So you got to give him some love. I like what Devin Booker does. It doesn't look technically that hard to do, but he's committed to almost a theme.
Yeah.
So I like that.
He does have a particular aesthetic. You could copy, but you wouldn't look right.
Yes.
Because he lives that.
Yes.
It's also in the car.
He got the low riders,
It's his whole thing is in that pocket.
Right. So that's why I think about stylish, right? Like it has to be a representation of your identity.
Yes.
So for that reason, I'll say Devin Booker.
Otherwise, it's a costume.
Yes. And you can see it, you know, when some people where they get dressed up and they're like, I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. I think we need a big dude in there though, man. I'm gonna go back to one of the guys that got this started, especially since we're in New York, to a Mary Stoudemire. I remember, I don't know if he still does it, but when I first started researching this book and I went to his website, it said he's calling himself Mr. Fashion. And he was really one of the pioneers of this, right? Like, I'm not sure if it was him or Mello, but one of those guys was the first guy to make the Met Gala.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, there's nothing.
I mean, he's scarves and hats.
Yeah.
And he does it up.
Exactly.
And him, I think, he's out there with his looks.
Yes.
Right? I don't think, he listens to his stylist.
Yeah, even though he was one of the first dudes to use Rachel Johnson.
See, I mean, you can use a stylist and still be in conversation with her or him.
Yes.
Versus,
just listening.
What would you call? What are those boxes where they send you, wear this? And I wore all the stuff in the box and I looked dope.
You got that Ivy Park gift box and you just put it all
nothing
on.
wrong with that. So okay, who needs help?
Man, Tyler Hero. Have you seen some Tyler Hero fits? No disrespect, Tyler, if you're hearing this ever, but it just feels like he's trying. Like he's trying so hard to not only be fashionable, but to make people talk about what he's wearing. And it doesn't seem like it's a reflection of him yet.
Who else?
Man, call people out. Who else do I see? And I'm like, that ain't it.
And we have a best dress. We got to have a worst dress.
Yeah.
We can't just hand out flowers.
Yeah. What I think Kevin Durant can do better.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I think he has coached. I mean, I do think it's like a reflection of him. It's like this insouciant, I don't care. Mm-hmm. But he does care, right? Mm-hmm. Like even given, people say like on Twitter you see him, or I guess X, right? Like he don't care, but then he responds to everybody who has a critique, right?
He clapped at me.
See?
Over basically nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, what, Rich, why is he attacking me? What the fuck?
Exactly.
Go on.
So I think, and especially for where he is like now an elder statesman in the league, someone who, is arguably the second best player of his era. Some people think the best player. Like I want more from him.
It's interesting you say that because I was looking at the pictures for the recent generation.
Yeah.
And like Chris Paul's wearing some things, and I'm like, I would wear that. Mm-hmm. And like, some other things. I think Amari, I'm like, if I was feeling courageous, I might do that.
Yeah.
And Kevin had a fairly simple outfit. I'm like, no.
Yeah. You talking the one with the hat and the shirt?
Yes. And it's denim.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm in denim and it's all. I was like, nah, that's not it. And I don't know why. It was very simple.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because a lot of the modern guys, if I told you if an alien came with these are the artist philosophers of the day, and they'd be like, oh, well, sure. Because look at him with the scarf and the hat and the gigantic this and the skirts. And like, I believe, but no, they're actually basketball players.
Yeah.
So, I mean, way more than football and baseball, these guys go to the nth degree.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I mean,
Why?
I think, one, I feel like there's a lot of pressure in the league, right? Like if you are a pioneer of something, which I think the NBA is a pioneer of professional sports fashion, or at least viewed that way. I think these guys feel that, like you got to carry that mantle. And then you have fewer guys in the league. So the ones who do it stand out more. And then you have a league who's marketing it more, right? They were early on it. They're doing it more. So there's a lot more eyeballs. And they're also just more popular athletes too, right? But there's a lot more eyeballs on them, which is a lot more pressure. So
but we've seen, I mean, it's been an interesting, 20, 30 years? Mm-hmm. I think you note Iverson as a key figure in the history of all this, right? And for sure. And I feel like in that era, you saw a lot of guys sort of slumping into the arena in like gigantic baggy suits or sweatsuits, right? Looking like they're going to practice, whatever.
Yeah.
Famously, David Stern was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Dress like you're going to work.
Yeah.
But they didn't look stylish.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 20 years, they could be going to the Met Ball with what they're wearing into the arena, right? I mean, Adam Silver doesn't have to tell these guys how to dress.
No.
They think the tunnel is part of becoming a star.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A pop culture star, obviously it doesn't help on the court, but
Yeah.
as far as getting to the larger level.
Right. Yes. So I did an event with this woman named Tammy Brooke, and she was, is still one of the architects of like connecting the athletes to high fashion and to really hip hop. And she was talking about how there's kind of a template, right? Like you start getting the attention in your Instagram, right? Like you start tagging the designers, then you start getting invited to different things. Then somehow you end up at, GQ Man of the Year. And then before you know it, hopefully you get a invite to the Met Gala. So that's like the pinnacle, and that's like the trajectory. And I think these guys recognize that, right? Like she can't be the only person that has that information. And then they've seen it, right? They've seen Amiri, they've seen Carmelo, they've seen, Bron I don't think has been, because he's always been playing around that time. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a template for getting there. And who wouldn't want to sit next to Anna Wintour?
Sure.
If you think you're fashionable, like there's nothing bigger than that, really.
Well, you see that as part of a journey to pop culture celebrity.
Yes.
Which then you can become a big marketer.
Yes. Well, also because it doesn't necessarily matter how you play. I mean, if you're playing well, it obviously can make you bigger. Everybody likes a winner. But some of these guys, Jordan Clarkson was 6th Man of the Year, but I don't think people are like, that's a superstar
He's
in the
coming
NBA.
off the bench.
Yeah. So I think that's another thing that has
Russell
changed.
Westbrook
Right. Well,
is no longer a great player.
Yeah.
But is super famous.
Yeah.
Like pop culture famous.
Yeah. I mean, he was at the last LV show in Pharrell. I mean, look at how many NBA players were at that LV Pharrell
You got
show.
a lot of pictures of guys in skirts.
Yes.
Hyper masculine men wearing skirts.
Yeah.
Nobody more than Russell Westbrook, but
Yes.
he's not the only one.
No. Serge Ibaka, Jordan Clarkson. Yeah.
What do you think about Russell Westbrook in a skirt?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I think if we look at Westbrook in a skirt, we also have to remember that Westbrook is from LA. Like straight
hood.
gang culture, sea walking, you know. So for him to get to that space, that's a big leap. And I think intellectually, what he's aware of socially, right? So I think we are talking about a reimagining of masculinity, which is not separate from, what is gender.
For sure.
Right.
Wait, have you talked to him or read or heard him talk about why he's comfortable wearing a skirt?
I have not.
Because I don't know what's his philosophy behind it. Because you're right, that it's a big leap for me, and my life circumstance doesn't go the trajectory that his goes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine that he I don't know how you could do that and not see yourself in conversation with the LGBTQ plus movement. Like how could you do that, right? And obviously, everyone that has done it that I know of in the NBA is wearing Tom Brown. So it is still high fashion. I just was reading, I think Tom Brown just went to like $800 million or something as a valuation. He was saying how when his brand first started, he was wearing the clothes just in New York and people were like laughing at him. They didn't understand it. And so obviously Tom Brown's probably a big difference from Russell Westbrook, but still I think he has carved a niche, right? And they recognize that he is high fashion and he's New York. And so that's also a part of it, but I still feel like it's a cultural, social thing that they're doing.
There's some high fashion celebrity straight men who are like willing to wear a skirt every now and then.
Yeah.
I am over the sociological thing of like man in skirt weird. Like I'm past that. I'm like, fine, it's all fabric, dude.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the skirt or the dress is made to accentuate the female form.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And especially the hip to waist ratio, right? Like it really accentuates that, right?
Yeah.
And you see like how skinny her waist is, right? And the male body doesn't do that. So I'm like, generally, the skirt or the dress, it doesn't flatter our form. So I'm just just basic aesthetics. It doesn't look good on us because it doesn't flatter. I think Russ
unless
is
you
pulling
got the Adonis.
Unless you got the
the what is it, the Adonis measurements where you got the broad shoulders and then your waist is super small,
And
which
Russell-
is Westbrook
Russell,
and
yes.
Ibaka and to a certain degree Clarkson. So they have a particular man's frame.
That
Not
can
to
pull
be in
that
here
off.
talking about bodies, right? Like,
No, but we're talking about it as
Shaq can't pull it off.
right.
He probably is wide as this table in the midsection.
So you also talk about Jordan
Yes.
as the key figure before Iverson. As far as-
Absolutely.
How did Jordan change it?
I think Jordan is what took Jordan is the measure of celebrity, maybe in all of sports,
Yeah.
maybe in America. Like, there was a time when Jordan was like the most popular person on the planet. And I think for him to be in the NBA and for them, obviously Magic and Bird kind of got him back on track right after the 70s and all the drug use. But Jordan took them, I would say, to their apex.
For sure.
And so I think there was also a need or a feeling to recreate what Jordan did in the way that Jordan did it, which is like, pitch man, don't ever say the wrong thing, play your games, the Republicans buy sneakers, and then here comes Iverson as a almost antithesis to
Rebellious.
the Jordan.
Iverson was definitely shaking things up as far as the size.
Yeah.
And just injecting street culture
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
Jordan seemed to me, to my recollection, fairly conservative suits.
Yes.
Tailored conservatively.
Yeah.
Looked like a professional businessman.
Yes.
As opposed to today, we're getting serious fashion statements. Jordan would have never done the Tom Brown suit with the shorts.
No, I don't. No. But also think back, those guys were wearing custom suits, right? There was a guy, a handful of guys who would go to the rooms, measure you up, give you 6 or 7 of the suits you wanted in different colors. So that's what Jordan and them were wearing. They didn't even have the acumen to dress like this yet, right? There was, and I can imagine that the custom suit guy didn't want them to have that acumen because they had the resources. So it took the stylists really to get connected to them to say, no, you don't gotta go to the custom suit guy, or he can do another thing for you, but here are these brands over here. So I really feel like if Jordan had that liaison between him and high fashion, he might have did it.
With the brands, what are you getting with the brands that you're not getting with the custom suit guy?
Cachet, right? Every brand that we think of that has a really high cachet has a story attached to it. LV,
It elevates
Balenciaga.
you.
Yeah. It's like by association, right? It's like having the imprimatur of whatever that story is.
It's a whole language, the world of these brands. So you're kind of saying, I know how to speak that language.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I saw Chris Paul in one of yours. Got a great suit, dimple in the tie, with and it's like, I know how to. And of course,
that's that GQ cover, I think.
Yes, and I think of course Chris knows how to do it. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Also, he had the sweater and underneath it the tie, which was a thing for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Like I know how to put it together, right? Like I know how to do this.
Yeah.
So if it was Jordan, the number one icon of fashion, and then Iverson, and then who is it? LeBron in after them, or there's nobody who's having that seismic of an impact as Jordan and Iverson on the fashion?
I think after we come from Jordan and Iverson, I think we can hold those up and say they are certainly the ones of their generation, but then I think it's a collective. I think we're really talking about Bron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh, and probably I'll put a Mary Stoudemire there. So it's like those guys of that generation are all doing it at once. And yes, Bron is the brightest star, but he might not even be the brightest star fashion-wise, right? Because I also would put Westbrook in there. So Westbrook, Bron, D. Wade, Chris Bosh, and Amiri are doing it around the same time, which is how we get to the tunnel.
D. Wade is really going there.
He's going hard, man. You know what it is? It's just Chicago in him.
Uh-huh.
The Chicago people, like they don't want to be New York, and then they're not West Coast. Like they can take those influences from both coasts and really go hard.
It seems more than Chicago to me. I don't know, because it's way. He's a fashion philosopher.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't even understand what you're doing, bro. But go ahead.
But that's also too like, you know that picture of Magic in the fur. I'm like, Magic knew he was a star. Like this, this is how a star dresses.
Yes.
You see Bron on the cover with the suit that he wore from the night he broke Kareem's record. I'm a star. And I think that D Wade, remember, this dude comes in winning a chip.
Yeah.
So from there on, he is a bona fide star. And what do stars do? I do what other people won't or can't do. So I feel like he's always had that in him.
Did you like the Tom Brown suit on LeBron in the press conference that he stormed out of petulantly?
You talking about when he brought the bag, when he had the whole team?
Well, it's interesting that you use the word bag and not purse, because it's a very fine line.
Yeah, no, it's a bag to me. It's a bag.
It's a fine line to me. I'm like, it's big, so it's not purse-ish.
Yeah, it's a duffel bag size.
But women would use that as a big purse.
This is true. Granny, definitely. Everything in there.
Right?
Your grandma.
Get the little dog in there.
All you need. Yeah. I did like it. I liked the tailoring on it.
The tailoring's good?
I like a monochromatic look.
I like that, the color and the monochrome. The shorts is so aggressive.
I know, but again, if you a star, like you got to be able to go where the other people won't go. Right? Like when you writing your takes, right? You gotta go where you gotta know wherever they went, and you gotta be able to go where they won't go. Otherwise, why are we just an echo? And Bron is not an echo. Bron is the one hollering.
It's interesting because there was that period of the faux nerd look with the backpacks,
with the
the heavy glasses.
Yeah.
That was fun, but weird.
It was weird. It was a ephemeral but very memorable moment. Yes.
I didn't understand it. Do you understand? Because Westbrook rocked it.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant was
Bron
in it.
did it. D-Wade did it.
Yeah.
But also, I think those are all guys who didn't go to college. And I think they were kind of reliving the aesthetic of what would it have been like to be collegiate. None of those do. I mean, D-Wade did, but I think of the rest of them didn't, right?
No, Durant was in Texas.
So, I mean, none of them finished, right?
Well, no, right.
UCLA.
No, right, for sure. Nobody finishes. Nobody good finishes anymore. For sure. You take interesting side drops into different aspects of it.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought that much about latter-day hair. 70s basketball was all about the afros. And but the beard, Harden's beard, it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, Rodman's hair.
Absolutely.
A lot of people communicated messages with their hair. It's part of the whole game.
Yeah. I mean, you think about, if we take it out of this realm, like how much pushback there is for women, especially black women's hairstyles, right?
Yeah.
Can't get a job, you getting fired, you getting flagged. So I think there is that, right? There's like, I am going to represent how I feel. I'm also going to push back against what's respectable, right? As that respectability was hard on them in the 50s and 60s. So I feel like that's how we get to the afro, right? Like we not your brand of respectable anymore. We don't have to be. And I think that really, and also I feel like, and you look now, I was watching the NCAA tournament last year, and like all the kids had the like big fros or the braids. I'm like, oh, this is where we are now, right? It's like you can see it coming, but then I imagine by the time they get to the league, everybody will be shortcuts again because you got to do something different.
Yo, every draft is a comedy show to me.
Yeah.
They all look crazy.
Yeah.
Like fucking clowns.
Yeah. Well, I will say I did like Jalen Green's. Remember you didn't like that sparkly suit?
You know, I don't know. Maybe 1 in 100 is passable.
Yeah.
They generally, on draft day, they generally look crazy.
But look though, what would you wear if you had been planning this outfit for 15 years, right? Like they 18, 19, 20, they've been wanting to go to the league since they was 5 years old, playing on a little Nerf hoop in their house. That means they've been planning draft day for at least 15 years. And
I wouldn't
you gotta go all
I wouldn't come
out.
up with that.
How do you know? Have you ever planned an outfit for 15 years?
I would first. No, I don't think I can think about it out for 15 minutes. But oh my God, like, oh my God, and can't anybody jump in and say, hey?
But they got stylists now. Some of them are doing it. Like, there's a picture of Darius Garland from Cleveland. He had the Fear of God suit, very understated, open jacket. Tone on tone, tans, right? Like you could wear that somewhere. Yeah, go ahead.
On. Let's.
Yeah.
These boys.
I think he might be in the top draft suits.
Football is the same, man.
Man, football is
they look
a different
crazy.
thing.
I mean, like oh God, this.
You didn't like that Dolce & Gabbana right there?
Jason Tatum.
He's a star. He's a star. He's dressing like a star.
Dog, this is insane. This is insane. What the? Wait, where's the draft?
The draft, I think it's back pretty far.
Did I pass it?
No, I think you got to keep going. Yo, yeah, it's back like maybe middle of the book.
Jesus Christ. This crazy, man. Like,
look at your boy D Wade.
Oh God. And they be just like they
go that Kevin. Is that the Kevin Durant you was talking about? Yeah.
I don't even know what's wrong with this. And I'm like,
you just ain't doing it?
No. I don't know. Something's off. Something's off. You don't talk about sneakers that much.
Yeah, no.
In this.
Yeah.
And you could.
Yeah. I mean, I think what there is to say about sneakers in the broader scope is that we don't have sneaker culture without Jordans.
For sure. Of course.
And, as much as I think sneakers are part of a look in fashion, most of the looks in there are really high fashion looks, though, right? There's not a lot of streetwear, and there is. But yeah, I think you could easily argue or have a whole section on you can have a whole section on Jordans, but you can have a whole section on sneakers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a whole book on sneakers.
Yeah, there is now that we're talking, one just came out.
Another one?
Yeah, I forget his last name. I think his first name is Russ. Actually just came out yesterday.
It's a lot of stupid chains in the modern era.
Man, listen, it's hip-hop.
You remind me, too, here with this picture of Jordan with the earring.
Mm-hmm.
It was
the hoop earring.
It was a big deal.
Yes, and the goatee.
But at that point, for a straight man to have an earring was shocking.
Yes.
To some regular folks.
Yes.
My mom included.
Yeah, my dad too.
Right?
I got my ear pierced, had to put the broomstick in there so he wouldn't see it. It's like, son, is that a stick in your ear? No, Dad, that's how my ear look. That's how it look.
That's how my ear looks. That's just how it looks. The NBA is very controlling of the outfits, right? I mean like on the floor when you're playing, right?
Yeah.
As far as the size, right? They don't want to call attention to, right? Because you guys have worn it baggy, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't want that, right?
I think they are a little loose, but if you notice, like those Iverson years, he was wearing huge, oversized stuff. Yeah, so I think they have an opinion about that. But I also feel like maybe this is the era where like they're doing so many more custom jerseys now, right? They're doing throwback jerseys. And I think because they're allowing the expression of fashion in the other areas, that they're getting a little more loose with.
But Adam Silver seems to be more open to letting them do what they want to do.
Yeah,
and
he's more progressive than Stern.
Right?
Yeah.
Stern was very dictatorial.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably age. I don't know how old Silver is, but I would imagine he's probably not 60 yet. And Stern was of a different generation.
But the guys were coming with a different energy, right? Like under Stern, he's trying to make it a gigantic sport, right?
Yeah.
It's a slow slog upward with that. Jordan and Magic and Bird are helping, but like we got to work this upward.
Yeah.
And these guys are coming in like they're going to the like they're going to the freaking practice.
Right. We got to get a handle on that.
Silver has
see it? There it go right there.
Man, here's
right
the
there.
guys.
The tan. You wouldn't wear that Fear of God suit right there?
This?
Yes.
This Lando Calrissian Luke Skywalker thing? I mean, I would wear that not for draft day.
Right, but
maybe
to me,
maybe on another day.
okay.
But man, we got guys. This guy got a red suit with a
and you know, it's
bow
crazy because his
tie
style
and-
is nice now. He's one of my favorites. D'Angelo Russell. That's in the
Yeah.
red.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You got to evolve, man. That's what I think. Like, it's so much pressure on draft day, man. It's like, what are you going to do? You've been thinking about this your whole life. Look at that Samaki Walker hat. That's classic.
even LeBron looked terrible on draft. My God, he looks like a gangster from the 20s.
Yeah.
The suit is gigantic, and what is
But he had the right
happening?
color on. He was letting us know.
Letting us know what?
He was the one, the chosen.
You
know? The chosen one wear white.
Jalen looks crazy. Jalen Rose is here in a red pinstripe suit.
I like that, though, because Jalen is Detroit. So he is representing where he's from in that photo.
Okay.
Detroit players.
Okay. Oh, my God. Why'd you want to go down this road at all?
They brought the idea to me. I didn't, when I was like, is this a good use of time? I was like, oh, man.
That must be nice.
What? Yeah,
That
well,
they
yeah.
pitched this idea to you.
Yeah.
Damn.
I was lucky.
Damn.
But it made sense.
How
I've
come
been
they
writing
don't
about
have my number?
They probably do. You're doing this too much.
They chose you over me.
No. You're doing this too much. They like, nah, he ain't writing this
They want,
no more.
want Mitchell or Touré. Oh, Mitchell's easier to work with. Touré's a pain in the ass. Mitchell can handle it. Actually, no, this is the reason why, right? What does that say? Winner of the Pulitzer Prize.
That helps, I think.
That's like Academy Award winner. Winner of the How is that?
Man, I think about it like, you mentioned the Academy Award. Those are the only two awards you can get that they'll mention. Like, you'd be 60. You could have won it 40 years. They'd be like, Academy Award winner. So I'll take it, man. It's the thing you strive for. You don't think you're going to do it, and then it happens, and it's surreal.
Do you get a trophy?
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. What does it look like?
It's a glass thingy. It's crazy. Somebody just pointed this out to me. I was at my friend's house. His name is Greg Partlow. He's a poet that won the Pulitzer in, I think, 2015. He had a party at his house, and I took a picture with it. I was like, man, this is as close as I'm ever going to get to one of these things.
Nope.
And I posted it, and yeah, we got the same one now.
Where is it?
In my office. Yeah.
It's funny, some people get big trophies like that, and they want to look at it, and they put it close to them. And some people are like, no, I put that like out of sight, like in a room I never go to. I don't want to I want to keep pressing forward or whatever. But
it's crazy. I never look at it. It's like it's a feeling, but you can't live in that space. You can't create from that space. You try to create from that space, you're finished.
You mean from like, let me win another Pulitzer?
Yeah, or I've won a Pulitzer. Like, if you say I've won one, then it's going to hurt what you're making because you feel like, oh, I've arrived, right? And for me, I have to write from a, damn, want to hear this shit. Like, how are you going to make it better or different? So I literally probably have only looked at that thing twice in 2 years.
Wait, describe the ethos you said that you write from. They don't want to hear this shit?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, I think if you take an audience for granted, that there's a way to not take care of them or to get into a piece slower than you need to get because you think, oh, they'll just stick around and read this. And for me, I'm like, nah, I can't take for granted that they're going to come. I can't take for granted that they're going to stay here.
Yeah.
I have to make sure, and I have this kind of, I guess, anxiety over, am I well-informed? Am I as informed as I need to be about this subject? Is there somebody else that said something that I haven't read that I need to? So there's always these anxieties that I'm working through on the page, which I think push me into a different space in the work. And I can't work from a space of confidence. Like, every single feature, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I actually just had a phone conversation with my editor at the Times today. Like, yeah, the last draft I turned in, I was like, oh, I turned. She was like, oh, I haven't heard you. I said, yeah, it took me like 8 drafts, but I feel it when I turn to a place of confidence. But I start off in a place of uncertainty all the time. It can be a column, it can be a feature. It's certainly a novel. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I could get through the slog of, you have a germ in your mind, and I
Yeah.
want to get this on the page. And I don't know if I could get through that without, I know I got this.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in a moment of struggling,
Yeah.
I don't lose confidence in myself. I'm like, I know I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
I need to go read something, eat something, take a walk.
Yeah.
Relax, remove my mind from it.
Yeah.
But like, I know I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're like fighting
it
the war
takes me
inside
a moment
yourself.
to get to that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's like if this is 100%, 75% of it is like, how are you gonna do this, man? And what's gonna be special about this piece? Are you just repeating what you did? And then I'll turn in a draft and I'll go, oh, now we're in a space where it's like, now I'm tweaking it. Like I can see where I'm gonna go with this. But that's only the last 15, 25% of it. So I think you've had more repetitions than me. Been doing this. I mean, I was reading you back when I was in college. So I think that repetition gives you that confidence. Say, oh yeah, I know I'm gonna turn it. I did this thing back there. I could do this or that or this. I don't have
I
it.
do find, because part of what you're talking about is an awareness of the million other options that the audience could, right? They could leave you for a TikTok,
Yeah.
for TV, for another article, whatever.
Yeah.
And taking that into account, it makes you feel like, I gotta be a showman.
Yeah.
I gotta give you a big first sentence,
Yeah.
and then another one and hook you in. And it's
Yeah.
a different way than I used to write. I
Yeah.
didn't feel the need to like, look, ladies and gentlemen, come this way
Yeah.
into this idea.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, damn, if I don't do a cartwheel in the first paragraph, forget it.
Well, that comes from my fiction training because I studied with this guy, Gordon Lish, and he used to talk about the first sentence was not a first sentence. It was an inauguration. He called it the inaugural sentence.
Yeah.
And so I really try hard to have an inaugural sentence. Like he used to say, an inaugural sentence taps into infinite options. And I really like to think of it. It puts a lot of pressure on it, but I love thinking of it in that way. But I just went to a talk with Zadie Smith 2 weeks ago, and she was saying, I think they were talking to her about the new novel. She's like, yeah, I don't really put a lot of pressure on my first sentence. She's like, I used to when I was a young writer, but now I just don't care. I just get into it. Yeah.
She don't care. Okay. She cares so much. She puts so much thought into it. But I do feel like the first sentence opens the door to the universe.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And yes, if it's good, well, if the first sentence is good, 99% of the things are possible, right? Because I've set an intention, so some things are not going to happen. I'm communicating a character, communicating a tone, a direction. So these things are not going to happen, but still almost anything could happen. And then you're going through it, you're narrowing to the final sentence. Like, well, it couldn't be anything but that because I narrowed down to zero.
Yes, yes. It's supposed to be, what did they say? Both unexpected and inevitable.
And right, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first sentence, you are banging a gong. Yeah. Come.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
Sit a while.
Exactly. Even in this book, I had to fight with them because the opening is really me just singing about basketball, right? It's like, remember this play and that play. And they were like, well, Mitch, you're not talking about fashion. I was like, give me a minute. We're in a book, I feel less pressure to hit it immediately. I'm like, okay, I got 40,000 words or 30,000 words. Like, I can get to that, even though I still want to sing, which it would be different if I were writing, a column or something.
When you're writing a book, when they get to the first sentence, they've already committed to you.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? They already bought the book.
Yeah.
Or at least they picked it up at their friend's house, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, in an essay that's on the internet or in a magazine, I could lose you.
Yeah.
Right? You haven't paid. So yeah, I mean, I would feel more comfortable that it'll take a little bit of time. We still want the first sentence to be like, pow.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is very much Black style matters.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And it speaks to how you should see us.
Yes.
Right? And it is beautiful to see these masculine athletes performing this sort of artistry, this philosophy of clothing out in public.
I agree.
And playing with what it means to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are still probably our metrics, right? Them in Hollywood of what masculinity is. I said in my one one of my talks, I'm like, man, you get to be if you're an athlete, you're an NBA player, you could be a hero possibly 82 times in a year. That's if your team don't even make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, you got 100 times to be a hero. And I was like, what other profession can you have where you could be a hero 100 times in a year? Can't do it in writing. Can't even do it in the movies, right? Like, nobody is acting 100 movies in a year. Like, there's no other thing where you could be a hero that millions of people see in 6 months.
You also see, the impact of people who have never had money.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And what they do
when they first get it, yeah.
when they first suddenly have a bunch of money.
But then you can see also what they do when they've had it for a decade.
Yes, guys are. Yes, when you get into the pictures of guys who've been around for a while, it's more refined.
Yes,
it's more interesting choices versus like some of the wild stuff from early days.
Yeah, I really like this guy Jeremy Grant. I like his style. Yeah, it's like bohemian, kind of like Jordan Clarkson, but a little different. There go another one of your skirts. We're going to get you one, man. We're going to have Tom send you one over, man, so you can push the envelope a little bit.
But you'd have to figure out, like, where are you going to wear it? I mean, the other thing is that in American society, most women shave their legs.
Yes.
Right? Which is part of the whole presentation of wearing a skirt.
Yes, true.
If you're a man and you're going to wear a skirt, like that's knee length. Are you shaving your legs?
Right.
Also, a lot of women, when they wear skirts, not all the time, but a lot of time, they wear heels.
Yes.
Which makes their legs look more fit. Because you're standing on your toes. So it accentuates your leg.
Yeah.
We don't have any history of doing that. But it is a tiny. The boot is not changing the structure of the leg.
This is true.
So we are not doing all the other things that go along with wearing a skirt.
We are not. I agree with you.
Should we?
I don't think so. I think we need to have some differences.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you mean we need to have some differences?
I think that there can be multiple ways of how we present it. But I do think the boot is a approximation of the thing that you're talking about. Also, they're wearing the high socks too. Everybody who has done it, most of the people who have done it are always wearing are wearing the Tom Brown
part
socks.
Of the thing, like as a women in their fashion advice world tell each other, wear skin, show skin.
Yes.
Right? Some limb has to be open. Right?
Yeah.
Male fashion is cover your skin. Right? You're not supposed to see a man's socks or his ankles.
Yeah.
Right? You're not supposed to see his back. Right?
But we're troubling all of that now. I mean, we are in the era of. There's what's gender. Right? So all that advice was gendered advice. And so if we have reimagined what gender is, then all of that advice is gone.
Yes.
And these guys are young.
But we're only seeing a very tiny sliver of men actually play in that sandbox, right? Like we both can say, support it, go to, but we're not, would you wear a skirt?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't wear a skirt now. But I think that there are silhouettes like these big baggy pants that are, some people would say, are more feminine. I think it's like, who's gonna push the envelope, right? I think, look at them now, they're painting their nails. Like it's all of the same thing.
A lot of Gen Z men, and I guess some of the last millennials, maybe not, are painting their nails.
Yes.
It's interesting. I've seen a bunch of guys on TikTok say painting their nails changed people's impression of them. Like it made people coming at them think he must be a nice guy. He is a non-threatening guy because his nails are painted.
I had a friend said if you wear glasses, it does the same thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about that it can change the perception in that way, right? To kind of temper whether or not you were dangerous. And if you're a black man, Maybe you want to do that, especially, you know.
Like Chappelle.
Don't shoot, I got nails.
Wear high heels just to feel safe.
Yeah, man, listen. You got to do what you got to do out here in these streets.
Oh, my God. Some of these guys look fantastic, and some of these guys, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a moment, man. That's a moment.
Braun in the Tom Brown.
Yeah. You know what? He cut those, too.
What do you mean he cut them?
He made those custom. It was a suit, and he had them cut to shorts.
But Tom Brown sells this.
Now.
Because of LeBron.
I don't know if that's why he did it, but that particular suit that Brown was wearing, he had customized and made into a suit. So he was, forward thinking.
You couldn't do this about the NFL. Couldn't do this about baseball. It's not the same.
It's not the same. No. I think it's rightful that the league that is the forerunner in it was the first book. But I see the NFL guys, they pushing.
Oh, is this part of a series?
No. Well, maybe they'll do a series, meaning Artisan, not me.
Maybe they'll call me for
that.
that.
There you go. You get tennis too.
Oh my God, I can do the tennis
Sampras,
all day long.
Andre Agassi.
Easy.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Get at me. Oh my God, I do have to win a Pulitzer to get that assignment? I don't know.
You got that.
So what are you doing next?
Working on a novel.
Ooh.
Yeah, about a basketball player turned cult leader. Still doing my column in Esquire and working on a feature I'm really excited about.
A movie?
For the Times. No.
A story.
Yeah, feature journalism, yeah.
Well, tell me about this novel.
Novel is a guy named Eldridge Broussard who played basketball in college in Oregon. He was from Watts, and then when he went home, he started a youth program to train inner city kids to be elite athletes. And then those kids' parents and him started living in common. He started training the kids, and it got abusive. And ultimately, his daughter was killed, was beaten to death. So I knew some of the people that were in the cult because they moved.
This is a real story?
This is a real story. It's based on a real story. I'm fictionalizing it. So I know some people that were in the, quote, cult. And I'm committed to writing about my hometown, which is Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And because I knew them and because this was somewhat based in Oregon, I'm like, okay, that's the next move for me.
Wow. This is a white
community? No, black dude.
Black dude running a cult with black people following him?
Mm-hmm.
I never really heard of a black cult.
Yeah.
How long? When did this happen?
80s.
How long did this go
90s. on? Maybe like 10 years, I think.
Shit.
Yeah.
What happened in the end?
In the end, his daughter was killed. They took the kid, found the kids were being abused, and disbanded it. I mean, they fought for a little while, but ultimately, kids were sent off to like group homes and stuff, and that was it. And he died.
He died free or in prison?
He died free, but under indictment.
Oh wow! Before his trial.
Yeah.
Why? You said you're committed to writing about Portland?
Yeah.
So all your fiction is about Portland?
Fiction and nonfiction. My books. My book was,
Why?
Because I feel like it's an underexplored aspect of blackness, right? We got such a small population of black people in Oregon, 2% in the states, like maybe 4 or 5 in the city where I'm from, Portland. And I just think there's so much to excavate about home. Like, think about how much Morrison wrote about Ohio, right? Like my guy John Edgar Wideman writing about Philadelphia, right? So for me, those are the models, right? I mean, James Baldwin was writing about everywhere, but he was also writing about New York City. Yeah. So the giants take home
Europe.
Yeah. I mean,
really
he had
important.
a couple of but ultimately he was a New York guy, Fifth Avenue Uptown.
Yeah.
So I take that as the charge to figure out how you can do it. And you're talking about like how you narrow, like you can start off with all these possibilities, but then you narrow. I like that idea of the box being home and what macrocosms can I get out of that?
How can I talk about the world through Portland?
Through home, yeah.
Beautiful. Best of luck with that.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man.
Thanks so much to Mitch for a great interview, and thanks to you for listening. Touré Show gives you fuel to power your dreams because you can use your dreams like a rocket ship to blast you into a life you never imagined. You can make your dreams a reality. Maybe this show can help. You can find me on Instagram at Touré Show. Touré Show is written by me, Touré, and produced by Jennifer Brown. Our editor is Ryan Woodhall. Our engineer is Claire McHale. Our booker is Claudia Jean, and we're distributed by DCP Entertainment. And we will be back on Wednesday with more amazing guests because the man can't shut us down.